Several persons are reported dead in Menua Division, West region of Cameroon following violent floods caused by heavy rains. Farmlands and plantations were equally destroyed by the floods. A similar mishap happened in the Limbe in the southwest region of Cameroon. And we equally talk about 60 clandestine schools that have been banned from operating this year in Cameroon. What are the reasons? How have parents been reacting to this? The borrowers have asked for their fundamental rights to be respected and to be integrated in society. We'll equally talk about changes in the Ohada law and the effects on Cameroon's economy. The program is News Roundup of the Week. Still this. Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the program News Roundup of the Week. I'm called Maureen and my guest on today's program is Dr. Michael Forzeh Fossung. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I hope I pronounced your name well.
Yes.
Because you are a chartered accountant, a certified chartered accountant. Now, what's it all about?
A certified public accountant or a chartered accountant. It is those who certify accounts, financial statements for companies. Basically, so we provide that service and we provide accounting service for companies that cannot afford chartered accountants in their companies.
And how has it helped companies so far?
Beg pardon?
How is it helping companies? Companies that have closed down or shut the doors simply because it was not going anymore?
Yeah, we unfortunately have very few chartered accountants in Cameroon. We have about 190. I'm afraid
it's not enough.
I cannot give you an exact number of how many are in practice. It's not enough at all compared to countries like Nigeria, Kenya. Kenya will be talking about 22,000 accountants. Nigeria about 250,000 chartered accountants. But in Cameroon we have 180.
Now what is the problem?
I think it is because Cameroon is yet to develop in professional education. So most of our students get too academic, and probably because the certification process is a little bit complicated.
Now we have very few chartered accountants and the number of companies too have increased. Now how do you do this? Do we mean one chartered accountant to how many enterprises or companies? What are we talking? How many here?
The ratio is really horrible.
Can we have the ratio?
I am unable to give it exactly, but I think it is horrible. Besides, some companies have taken upon themselves to go without chartered accountants, and they can go around it. Some of them use tax experts because our financial reports were based on the submission of what they call DSF, or statistics and tax returns. So they could use others other than chartered accountants to go through.
Now, is the work the same? The job, is it the same thing?
Well, the quality of the job would not be the same. It would never be the same because a chartered accountant is a chartered accountant.
So where is the difference? What makes the difference?
The difference is on the expertise. The difference is on the ethics, professionalism. The difference is on the experience.
Then what about companies or enterprises who don't even go for chartered accountants? Normally, how would the type of company function and what would happen to that enterprise or the company?
I wouldn't see a company with a capital of above 500 million francs CFA not going in for a chartered accountant. The recent law has prescribed that they go for chartered accountants, so they don't have a choice this time. I know most of them have been evading it, but it is normal that chartered accountants assist in the preparation of their books and even in audit.
Now, we're talking about we're talking about chartered accountants. Now, before we come to that, I want you to react on these people who have died in Menua Division caused by heavy floods. Now, what's your reaction to that?
Very pathetic. Cameroonians are suffering because of lack of proper landscaping. They live in very dreadful topography. If you look at the Limbe, these are people who are living in hills and valleys, cliffs. If you look at the people of the Nkongombo, of Njongo, of Mbeta, they live in hills and valleys. They don't even have roads. I don't know if the government is looking at that, if the senior divisional officer for Kupimaningyoba and that of Menua are looking at how these inhabitants can have proper roads and proper topography that can support habitation. The situation there today is very pathetic. So many homes have been demolished, or houses have been demolished. So many are suffering. There are, I would call it an earthquake and not a flood as such. It gives us a picture of that kind of earthquake.
Now, what is the probable cause of this?
Normally, earthquakes are caused by erosion of some. It's just like the Mount Cameroon. Yeah, it's when you live in areas where the nature has to burst out. There's something under nature that has to burst out, and it is not anticipated and prevented from happening. It happens just suddenly. You know what we had some years ago about the volcanic Mount Cameroon that vomited lava. Is the similar thing.
Now, can we also see water has difficulties to see?
Yeah, sure. You need to,
because the moment it rains, there is flood everywhere.
Exactly. You need to direct. You need to, when you look, people live in areas with very difficult topography. You need to do something. Yeah, you need to do something to make them live better.
Now, President Paul Biya has taken a firm commitment and has reassured Cameroon will host the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations. We give his words as he receives some 115 athletes at the Unity Palace. Let's watch the report. We'll be right back.
Cameroon will be ready. Cameroon will be ready on the D-Day, and I take the engagement. Pronouncement of President Paul Biya this August 10th at the Unity Palace. The head of state lauding the wonderful performance of Cameroonian athletes, brilliant hope in African Championship, World Championship, Islamic Games, and the latest, the Francophonie Games, with some 192 medals to show for.
Chers athlètes, chers compatriotes camerounais, avec ces 192 médailles, vous venez de part de chez nous un record jamais égalé au cours des 10 dernières années.
The head of state could not wish for anything better, but to urge these Cameroonian athletes to continue their sporting adventures, which should be well manifested here in their own country in 2019 with the African Cup of Nations. In their sports outfits, some in the colors of the country, others in competition colors, alongside the members of the technical and medical team, 42 in all. The message of thanks by the representative of the athletes, one of gratitude, a memorable picture to keep them always on the move for victory. Night of the Order of Valor for the medal winners, and Night of the Cameroonian Order of Merit for the coaches, technical and medical team. The high spirit for better things to come.
Welcome back. As you heard in that report, President Paul Biya has reassured that Cameroon is going to host the 2019 African Cup of Nations. Now, what's your reaction to that?
Positive, very positive. I know we have our problems. in terms of management, but I followed the president's talk. He was very firm, and I think we still have time to get the money, to put everything in place, and to be ready.
Now, can we say his outing is somehow like timely?
Yes, very timely, because we would have been booted out of it if we did not come up with a strong argument. I've seen arguments posed by others and competitors who want to take it from us, but I think Cameroon is going to be ready.
Now, the president of AFCON, can we not see like a war between him and the former president, Isayatu?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I think he is doing his job. I think he's putting some pressure on us, because it is because of that pressure that it is like we just awake from slumber and we are going to do the right things. So we like challenges. Those challenges need to come to get us to do the right things. Now, is it the proper way to
do by doing declarations in another country rather than calling those concerned, the country concerned, and talk to them directly?
The approach may not be correct, yes.
Now, what should Cameroon focus on right now?
Karen?
What can Cameroon focus on if they have to make up to them?
Is to get the right people and get the job supervised and the job done. We'll stop talking. We just have to get the things done.
All right. The Social Democratic Front, the SDF, has called for an unconditional release of all those arrested in a connection with the Anglophone crisis as a condition sine qua non for them to join their voice to the call for the resumption of classes this academic year in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. And several persons are reported dead, while some are still declared missing in the Benue division in the west region of Cameroon following violent floods caused by heavy rains, and tension is still high in Yabasi as inhabitants have gone for more than 5 months without electricity. Let's watch this report. We'll be right back.
Immediate release of all those arrested in connection with the Anglophone crisis, effective demilitarization of the 2 English-speaking regions of the country, were conditions militants of the SDF party gave to the government for them to join their voices for school resumption. These were some of the major resolutions as party scribes met on July 5, 2017 during the National Executive Meeting in Bamenda. The SDF also stated that schools will only resume if issues raised by teachers are resolved and there is an unconditional return of teachers, lawyers and others who fled as a result of the crisis. The party equally noted with regret that the current regime headed by Mr. Biya has failed in his responsibility to assure school resumption in the Anglophone part of the country. The leading opposition party also maintained that the restoration of the federal system of government remains the best way to put an end to the crisis. Other resolutions which equally filtered out of this conclave was a 3-day national convention of the party slated for October 27 to 29, 2017. The conclave was equally an opportunity for the party to extend words of condolence to the Catholic Church following the murder of Bishop of Bafia, His Lordship Jean-Marie Benoit Bala. Militants of the SDF condemned recurrent road accidents and incessant attacks of Boko Haram and assured the population that if voted to power, they will put an end to all these dark clouds in Cameroon.
Inhabitants of Benue division of the west region of Cameroon are still disillusioned after floods swept across the division, killing people and causing massive destructions. Witnesses say they heard screams and cries of the victims, but it was too late to save them from the floods after heavy rains battered the division Friday. In Sancho, 2 children were swept away by the floods, and search missions are still looking for the bodies. In Chang, the rivers overflowed their banks, covering the main bridge that connects other neighboring villages. Farmlands and plantations were completely swept by the violent floods. It is reported that a man and his wives were carried away by the floods. The senior divisional officer for Menoir, accompanied by other officials and the population, visited affected areas. This after undergoing a 15-kilometer walk. The senior divisional officer, after talking to the population and seeing the casualties, bans the population from farming close to rivers and other risk zones.
Courage, les habitations, tout. D'ailleurs, j'ai interviewé.
I have discouraged those who live around here. I have banned them from farming close to rivers and other risk zones. I will send a ZEO to make sure the measures are respected later. It is useless to farm and the waters carries everything away. For the moment, only one body has been fished out of the waters. The search for more bodies continue.
The Northwest Regional Governor has observed that school boycotts, ghost towns and other forms of civil disobedience have not yielded fruits, but has rather impoverished the people, adding that it is high time the authors of such moves came back to the right track. Adolphe Lafrique made the observation while opening a 2-day administrative and security coordination meeting of regional service heads in Bangui in the Momo division. He once again renewed calls for the people of the region to send their children to school this 2017-2018 academic year.
The challenges are still too much. Therefore, I've seized the opportunity, mobilize, to sensitize, to continue to sensitize the population, to say no to ghost town in the region, to mobilize themselves after the traditional ruler, after the religious authorities, after the PTA leaders, to mobilize themselves for the resumption of classes in the region come September 2017.
In her welcome address, Mayor Tebe Beatrice of Bangui regretted that the recent armed banditry, school boycotts and ghost town operations have just come to elongate the list of perennial worries like farmer-grazer conflicts, intertribal and chieftaincy conflicts in Momo division. Participants later went into serious business with presentations from over 10 regional delegates and heads of autonomous services. Earlier, a minute of silence was observed for the fronts of Bangui and Kai villages who recently disappeared in a tragic motor accident along the Bamenda-Yaoundé highway. Day 2 of the second quarterly come together this August 10 will be dedicated to the examination of the security situation in the Northwest region.
"24 carats of diamonds worth more than 650 million francs CFA have been seized at the Douala International Airport.
Nous nous sommes basés sur son itinéraire.
We followed his itinerary, the origin and equally his movements. From the manifest, we could have traced where he was coming from, where he was going to, and from his movements, we observed that there were indications showing he was a suspicious passenger. Abadi Shuki, a British of Lebanese ancestry, born in Monrovia in Liberia, is suspected to be an illegal diamond trafficker. He was on his way to Lebanon via Cameroon when he was arrested by customs authorities. After questioning and a systematic search of his body and luggages, the trafficked diamonds were found and seized.
La procédure contentieuse suit son cours.
The judicial procedure is on. There is a huge fine he is going to pay. We will now follow the normal procedure and try to evaluate how much the diamonds, including the different procedures endured by the customs department, cost. And then we will go for the evaluation of the diamond. Since his arrest, security measures at the Douala airport have been reinforced to track down all those dealing in illegal trafficking.
These are inhabitants of Yabasi in the littoral region. Both the young and the old are on the street protesting against constant electricity blackout. They say they have gone for more than 3 months without electricity. With placards, inhabitants marched to the building harboring Eneo offices. Here they were blocked from accessing the building by gendarmerie officers. But inhabitants forced their way in. Their next step was at the premises of the senior divisional officer. Here the elites were at the forefront. They blasted the authorities for doing nothing to solve the electricity crisis, which continue to cripple the economy of Camp Division.
Chaque jour, nous restons silencieux et nos autorités n'ont pas notre temps parce qu'ils ont les groupes. Nous, est-ce que chacun ici peut avoir un groupe? Non! Le préfet nous dit pourquoi lui dort dans la lumière et nous dort dans le noir.
For the past 3 months, we have not had electricity. We no more have fridges. There is no life in Yabasi. The authorities have remained silent. They are not mounting pressure on those concerned. This is the state of some electricity poles in Yabasi. Most of them are getting rot and are out of use. Inhabitants say NAO agents have all vacated their offices. The electricity crisis has grounded business across the Camp Division. Fresh fish, for example, is hard to find as cold stores are forced to lock. Inhabitants have evaluated economic loss to millions of francs CFA. They have called on the authorities to act fast and remedy the situation. But while waiting for concrete actions, the population started by blocking the main bridge that links Yabasi to the rest of the Camp Division. This NAO agent was almost lynched by the population, but he was saved by gendarmerie officers. The superior chief of Yabasi is out to calm tempers. He tells the population government is aware of the problems and are consenting to seek lasting solutions. Inhabitants have given the authorities 48 hours to act or have all electricity poles cut off in Yabasi. Now the people of Yabasi in the littoral region have gone for 5 months without electricity. Now what's your take on that?
Too bad. Very bad. We are at an age that Cameroon should not be experiencing those kind of bad signs. No electricity in a village like Yabasi. It's just like no light to a human being. Something has to be done. It is very unfair. We have very cheap natural solar energy that we could provide to Cameroonians. I don't know why with all the resources we still cause Cameroonians to suffer that way. It isn't good at all. How do you expect the children to read? How do you expect the people to do things there?
Now, how can the absence of electricity in a neighborhood or in a locality like Yabasi slum down its economy?
It can just kill everything. Don't forget that everything is based on power. You can put on your computer. If there was a microfinance in Yabasi, it would not exist. They would not record their transactions. Nothing will happen. So electricity is indispensable. Not having electricity just means causing the economy to crumble. I don't know how I can put this better
now,
to you.
Who do we blame for this? Do we blame Eneo or who do we blame?
I blame Eneo as a company. Firstly, they haven't got a good attitude towards corporate social responsibility. It is not all about selling your puff and have people pay for it when it is available, but it is making sure that those people who have been consuming your puff as their daily bread have it when they need it. So Eneo has to do something about this. It is very uncalled for. And then, of course, the supervisory authority, the Ministry of Water and Energy, has to do something about it. They have to make sure that they supervise the companies. If not, they should recruit another company to give license to 2 or 3 other companies to operate electricity. If the burden is too much for ANU, it is just everywhere, it's not just Yabasi.
Now, by going down on the street to protest, is that the right way to to attract a government or tell government that they have a serious problem like that?
Sure. Protest is a very nice way to let the people, the authorities know. It should not be violent. It should not be violent, but protest is really going to make the person or the authority that has the burden, because remember there are other areas that have the burden. So if you go on the street, you call for attention, immediate attention.
In Cameroon, indigenous people have as major preoccupation integration that made their voices heard once more during commemoration of the 10th International Day of World's Indigenous People. Let's watch this report and others that made news in the course of the break. We'll be right back.
It is under the rhythm of traditional dances and Fufude that the Mbororos celebrate the 23rd edition of the International Day of Indigenous People, a way for them to valorize their tradition and cultural values. The Mbororos are people who have learned to keep their values, tradition and origin without being corrupted by the neighboring communities. The celebration comes amidst concerns that the indigenous people are still left at the fringes of the society. We are still despised, we are still marginalized and underestimated till now. We are trying at our level, but all our efforts have gone in vain. Majority of these Mbororo, who are originated from the northwest region, are essentially cattle rearers who are asking to be integrated in the society. We are asking the international community to integrate us as citizens at the international level and to consider us as human beings. As the world celebrates the International Day of Indigenous People under the theme promoting inter-community dialogue and education to citizenship, efforts are being made, however, to give indigenous people access to education, a prerequisite for their integration in the society.
%85% of new HIV/AIDS infections are caused by persons who are totally ignorant of the disease. The prevalence rate of HIV and AIDS in the littoral stands at about 2.6%, figures that are yet to be confirmed by health authorities.
I think it's an occasion for our young peer educators to go through social network and sensitize the other young people and bring them know their serological status. And I also think that it's an occasion for them to go through all the quarters of our town to meet other young people and to let them know their serological status.
The 2017 edition of the AIDS-Free Holidays campaign in the littoral targets women and youth between the ages of 15 and 35, said to be most vulnerable to the disease. Just like in previous years, hundreds of peers educators will be deployed in the streets of Douala to reach out to at least 5,000 youths. And the message is abstinence and the use of condoms during sexual intercourse.
They explained to us that we will be outside, we will have a time somewhere, then we will try to sensibilize people to ask them to come and make their test. Because what we are doing is to allow people, to inform people, many people of our country, our area, Douala, our quarter, all these places, to make their tests. So,
in order to meet their objectives, the Ministry of Public Health has deployed 250 health personnel and 237 psychosocial assistant workers to counsel and handle all actions around the infectious disease. 2 mobile vans will crisscross the city of Douala, carrying on-the-spot HIV screening. This year's theme is Android generation. Click on the HIV screening test button.
Decentralization is a major public policy here in Cameroon. The signs include decentralization law, follow-up organs, effective transfer that started since 2010, salaries to mayors and municipal councillors that started this 2017.
And today we implement regularly the transfer of competencies from state ministries to local councils. So we think that we are on the good way.
But very far from the African Charter and expected results.
Putting in place a national strategy, I don't say that it's a magical stick with which we are going to resolve all our problems. But we think that with the help of all ministries, with our civil societies, with representatives of parliament, we are going to come out with something to enable us to better manage this public policy.
This year, the African Union is focusing attention on the youths, underscoring relevance of their development in which digital economy can play a key role. Here in Cameroon, the Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization in charge of decentralized collectivities, Jules Doreen Dongo, said,
comply with the resolution of the African Union because in our country, a world ministry has been created for our youth. And besides this, we have put in place National Youth Council. The Electoral Code provides that the constitution of a list for the election of municipal councillors should take into account two things: the sociological components of the constituency, that is the local council, and the gender.
The official ceremony of the 6th African Day of Decentralization and Local Development was preceded by a conference debate with 3 exposés on the theme of this year's celebration: youth policy in line with decentralization and digital economy, progress engine for African youths, amongst others.
Cameroon is losing in foreign direct investments, while home-based companies are shutting down, caused by a hostile business environment. With the incompatibility of the Ohada law,
we had issues with foreign direct investment, as I said before. The financial statement produced under the former Ohada Uniform Accounting Act that was strictly rule-based, not principle-based, were not easily understandable by the international community, and as such it was difficult for them to appreciate the results of the companies that they want to invest.
Chartered accountants are getting abreast with the new Ohada Uniform Accountancy Act, which will enable them to meet up with international financial reporting standards.
There is the aspect of comparability of financial statements in the world. Cameroon, like other member states of the Ohada zone, have been very much involved in rule-based accounting, and the world at large has been on principle-based accounting, and that is embedded in the international financial reporting standards that is being used. So what we are doing now is to look at how the convergence, there has been a convergence, that is, Ohada has moved closer to the international financial reporting standards.
Cameroon stands to benefit a lot with the new approach of doing business.
Remember, we depend very much on foreign direct investment. Investments come from foreign countries into Cameroon. The financial statements produced by Cameroonian accountants or Cameroonian firms must be understandable in terms of interpretation the world over. If you are in England or wherever, you should understand the financial statement prepared by firms in Cameroon.
The changes in accountancy law, which is a revised Accountancy Act, goes into effect as from January 1, 2018.
This young boy is saddened and imagine what the future holds for him. His mood depicts the conditions in which the population lives daily in Penja, in Cameroon. In this locality, the constant supply of water and electricity is a big problem. This man is an inhabitant of Penja. He tells me they sometimes go for about 4 days without potable water. As such, they resort to the streams. The roads are equally in a bad state and are characterized by potholes and stagnant water. The rainy season is a nightmare for the inhabitants. Their houses are flooded each time it rains heavily due to the poor drainage system in the locality.
The difficulties we have in Penja particularly is that the roads are not well made, and even the water we have had, we don't have any water here coming from the tap. And after that, even the schools are not well built. If you go everywhere in the schools, you can meet that there are some staff that have gone away because of wind. And the hospital of this, our town, was destroyed.
These problems will lead to the divisional officer during a visit to localities in the subdivision. Inhabitants blame councillors for the state of affairs, but however, hope promises made by the administration will change the situation.
The municipal authorities, they promise us that they will try to do otherwise to meet the government to know how to do, to help us by constructing roads, by preparing our schools. That stuff had been run away, and even our main station.
Penja is known for its production of white pepper, yet it lacks farms to market roads. In less than 1 month to the start of the 2017-2018 academic year, parents are intensifying preparations to ensure their children begin classes without difficulties. Some of them are enrolling their children into new schools, while others are maintaining their kids in the same school they had been attending. A good number of parents go on with the enrollment without investigating if the institution is operating illegally or not. I always enroll my children in schools in my neighborhood. I have never taken the pains to verify if they operate clandestinely or not. Honestly, I take measures to ensure I avoid schools that lack the authorization to operate. I do my findings before enrolling my children into any school. Before I enroll my kids in a school, I ensure the school has existed for at least 5 years. A recent decision by the Minister of Secondary Education, Jean-Enes Ngale Masina Bibihe, has banned 61 clandestine secondary schools across the nation for failing to respect the creation procedures, for lacking qualified human resources, and for having poor structures. But some parents complain the state is not taking enough measures to sensitize parents on such illegal schools. I am aware of the minister's decision, just like other Cameroonians. Informing the population is not enough. We need to have the list of the schools that have been shut down, because no proprietor will be bold enough to accept that his or her school is affected by the ban. Although this parent recommends sensitization through the media, others feel it is a sham. The state is playing a comedy. This game lies between the minister and the delegates. Schools that were banned in the previous years are operating. I have never seen any that has stopped functioning after such a decision. The minister has, however, warned proprietors whose schools have been banned to respect the order or face severe sanctions.
This is a list of 60 clandestine schools said to be operating illegally in Cameroon. The information is contained in an August 8 press release signed by the Minister of Secondary Education. According to the release, the schools have failed to respect the various procedures of creation, lack of reliable and concrete structures, do not respect government calendar, and harbor unqualified personnel that cannot maintain a good standard of education. The littoral region tops the list of clandestine schools. It counts 40 out of the 60 schools, with 14 in Douala. In Douala 1, Enco International School is accused of harboring the primary and secondary section on the same campus. Officials refuse to talk to our reporters. Officials of the Valor College have refused allegations their school is among the list of clandestine schools in the littoral region. My school has the authorization signed by the Minister of Secondary Education. He sent a commission when the school was opening. The last commission arrived here on October 1, and they were happy to see major realizations on campus. They went back satisfied with their report. The measure of the minister is coming before the report ever reached him. Elsewhere, officials of Sorbonne School say they cannot accept such a sanction. Sorbonne has been existing since 2007. We have never been summoned by the divisional nor regional delegations. In short, we are still in shock. Other schools that have been sanctioned the littoral include Institut Privé Laïque Le Progrès, Shalom Bilingual Academy, Saint Thomas Comprehensive High School, Oxford College, Collège Bilingue Alpha of Njombe, St. Joseph, Penja, British House Secondary School, to name but these few.
The Alliance Franco-Cameronaise has played a vital role in teaching youths and enabling them carry out activities such as music, acting and other performing arts during the holidays. This program helps the youth to explore their talents in different fields. Alliance Franco brought us together to teach the youth to act, direct and produce movies, and also to bring a new light to the Cameroon cinema. The youth are very passionate about cinema, and they say, contrary to what people think, it is not a distraction to their academics, rather it is love of the profession. There are also youths who take interest in creating melodious harmonies with your guitars, while others carry out activities such as painting, dancing and playing to their satisfaction. This is a program set aside to keep the youth busy during the holidays. We notice that children play a lot during the holidays and forget the essential, which is learning when schools resume. The program is bilingual, French for the Anglophones and English for the Francophones. Others learn to read and become familiar with ICT tools.
It was about 8 a.m. that inhabitants of the Muslim quarter in Kikai Kilaiki, Kumbo, Mbui division caught a gang of suspected bandits. They say it is hunger which pushed them to commit this act. It is one of our friends who told us to go and steal, and he showed us the house in which to steal, then told us what to take from the house. I normally sell dresses. I am not a thief. The main reason why we committed this crime, it is due to hunger. So, by selling the stolen objects, we will have money to buy food. Reports have it that this gang of thieves have been terrorizing the inhabitants of this locality. But unfortunately for them, this time around, the population laid hands on them. With the right rate of stealing in this area, we formed vigilante groups to protect inhabitants and catch thieves. That is why we could lay hands on these boys easily. I was the first person to see them. I saw two boys passing by carrying mattress. When I asked them where they were going to with it, they started running. So I began following them. That is how neighbors saw me running after them, and we could easily lay hands on them. Their age ranges from 20 to 24 years old, and they narrowly escaped mob justice thanks to the intervention of the police.
From a distance, one can take this place for a graveyard, but it is not the case. It is a Yabasi District Hospital mortuary that has been abandoned in this bush. The mortuary has been in this state for the past 2 years. In the place of corpses, domestic animals like goats are the new tenants grazing around. The deteriorating state of the mortuary is seriously affecting inhabitants who have resorted to the traditional methods of embalming corpses.
La morgue de Yabasi.
We are disappointed. For more than 1 year now, we embalm our corpses here, and we use trunks of bananas 2 days after we bury the corpses. This is a site where the ritual is performed with trunks of bananas well positioned, which is followed by laying of the corpse for a maximum period of 48 hours before burial. The risk of contamination is high, as those performing the traditional embalmment are not protected. The local methods of embalmment has been embraced by the people of Yabasi, who have gone for months without a modern mortuary. The doctor cannot master everything. He is neither a technician nor a mechanic. The equipment needs constant maintenance. The mishap that has gripped the mortuary has spread to the hospital, which is suffering from lack of modern equipment and electricity. A case in point is this ambulance, which is depreciating. Even the backup generator has gone bad. And so, to meet up with energy deficit, patients are compelled to use kerosene lamps.
These are goods that were seized by the Custom Office in Garoua North region of Cameroon. They are comprised of non-degradable plastic bags, vehicles which have not been paid excise duties, tons of cement, gallons of vegetable oil, and illicit drugs like tramol. The products are said to have been smuggled from Nigeria to Cameroon.
Nous avons exploité un renseignement qui nous a conduit.
We used an information given to us to reach Gashiga, where we discovered these goods on transit to Cameroon. No custom duty has been paid.
Dans les cargaisons en transit pour un pays de la zone CEMAC.
As part of government's drive to fight against the illegal importation of goods and increase of custom revenues, traders and transporters were told to join the fight against contraband. The custom agents say the seized goods will be taken for auction sales.
With just 9,000 francs, one can get 20 liters of fuel stolen from SDP Douala. The criminals perpetrating this act have been arrested by the police, and 30 containers of fuel were seized. After the arrest, they were taken back to SDP for assimilation exercise. From their arrest, the authorities and the police will not only know their channel of operation, but will equally get an insight into their modus operandi. On Friday evening, we came here, 5 of us. An agent of SDP interrogated me. He said he had something to do and we had to remove petrol. He gave me the keys and showed me how to remove fuel from the van. So we opened the van and we did the job. For me, it's a taximan who usually delivers the product to me in my neighborhood. There were 38 containers. He called me. He told me he sells Zwazwa. So I went to his house to buy the fuel. The security officer, who has been cited as an intermediary between in-house personnel and dealers from outside, says he is innocent. I know nothing about all of this. It is instead my colleague who has the habit of doing this. The general manager of SCDPI has called for vigilance.
Ça va sensibiliser davantage tout ce qui rôde.
This will be a lesson to all those who live around SCDPI that they should learn to expose criminals because they who live here are exposed to many things. People who roam around a petrol hub must understand that it is an accident-prone area. When individuals carry out such acts, it exposes the population who live in the neighborhood. We are doing our best for the depot to be secured. These 8 presumed bandits, now held hostage by the GMI, lays groundwork to uncover the chain of dealers involved in stolen fuel.
Welcome back. I'm accompanied by Dr. Michael Forzeh Fossung. He is a chartered accountant. Now, the new Ohio Uniform Accountancy Act is going to force from January 1, 2018. Now, what is this all about?
This is the financial law of the country of Ohio, 17 member states, which was promulgated sometimes in 2000. Locally, it has been reviewed and received a very significant facelift. It is, of course, the basis for which financial statements are created, are prepared by companies. The new law has gone to convergence. That is the main thing that has happened. It is converging with the international financial reporting standards. So the economies of the Ohio zone can now prepare financial statements that are comparable to financial statements prepared with the international standards.
Which means that before, what are the things that were done and what is happening today? What are the major changes?
There are very significant changes. Before, we used to have a kind of rule-based accounting. Today, we are having something, of course, rule-based, but principle-based, which is the basis of the international financial reporting standards. The general structure has been made in such a way that the comparability of the financial statements that Cameroonians or other countries in the member state would prepare would be very much enhanced. You would notice that lots of things, I don't think you want me to get into the details of the major changes. Okay, that's fine. You will notice that we have had things like the statement of sources and application of funds, what we used to call TAFI. We have moved that and replaced it with cash flow statement. The cash flow statement alone is a very important tool for the taxation for the those who are reading the accounts and have to take decisions on them. So this major change is going to ameliorate a lot in terms of decision making. People would have informed decision to make on investments or purchase and all of that. Besides, we've had things like formal, the content, the format of the financial statement. We used to have company structures that would prepare financial statement divided into 3. We have the minimum, we have companies that are considered to be medium, and we have companies that are large. That structure has been streamed down to 2, meaning we have companies that will prepare normal financial statements and companies that will prepare the cash basis financial statement. So they have been grouped into two. That has reduced.
Now, I want to find out, because this concerns enterprises.
Yeah.
Now, how is this going to impact enterprises in Cameroon?
Enterprises in Cameroon would be preparing financial statements that would have information that would be useful to investors. We have noticed a major change in that the financial statement that will be prepared have to be signed by chartered accountants. We have noticed a major change that the financial statements that will be prepared would need to be international financial reporting standards if that company is supposed to subscribe its shares with the stock exchange. These are some of the things that operators, economic operators, will benefit. In that, before you take a decision to invest in a company, you are sure that the financial statements that that company has produced have been verified by a chartered accountant. Either the chartered accountant being the auditor, or the chartered accountant being providing services for preparation of those accounts. You would be sure, you would rely on that financial statement.
Now, what are the benefits to Cameroon, especially to our economy?
Cameroon is a member of the village. Cameroon is like a quartier of that global village. If Cameroon prepares its accounts using standards that are not comparable, then we would not be able to attract foreign direct investments. The advantage we have now is that somebody sitting in England who wants to invest in Cameroon can understand the financial statements as he understands the financial statement in England. So readability, understandability, and all of that would be very much minimized. So to Cameroon as an economy, they will attract foreign direct investment, which is something that you cannot minimize.
What we did not have before?
Well, we used to have it, but very limited. It has been a general cry the world over that the Wadame zone, we have very tight-fisted financial rules that are not very explicit. People don't understand it. But now that we're moved towards the international standard, people can understand our financial statements.
There is a problem with the business climate as well in Cameroon.
Sure. The business climate is going to benefit more because they can now prepare financial statements that can be submitted to a stock exchange market. You know, a stock exchange market is where people go and buy shares and stocks. So if you want to create a business, even if you want to create a business, you need to go to the stock exchange market to get this.
Now, how can Cameroon make its projections for things?
It is, of course...
Let's take examples here. You can take taxation, you can take the budget.
If you take the taxation department, for instance, the financial statements that are going to be submitted are going to be signed by chartered accountants. We have what they call statistics and tax returns, or DSF. These DSF sometimes, or in the past few years, have not been signed by chartered accountants. So I am afraid the Ministry of Finance may not be able to have sufficient information on them to make budgets on revenues to be attained. But when the accounts are verified by an expert, somebody who has an oath to speak the truth, to be ethical, then you are sure that these financial statements are very reliable.
So how is it going to help Cameroon make its projections?
The Cameroon government is going to pick.
is struggling to get its emergence by 2035.
Yeah.
So how is it going to help Cameroon to meet up?
You would be able to have companies that file in their financial statement. You can easily determine the revenue, the state revenue that you can make on these financial statements based on the revenue that these companies are making. That can be determined from their financial statements.
Now, I want to find out, how is that the man who just have a shop and a quarter benefit from this?
The economy is, we have various sectors of the economy. They are like villages in a whole, in a country or in a town. If the bigger sector, of course, this is a sector that is expected to produce financial statements, the kind of financial statements I'm talking about. If you have them doing well, then the small businesses would do well. If you have them not doing well, then they would put down the entire economy. You know, the small businesses pick the bits and pieces of the bigger businesses, what the bigger businesses do want. So if the bigger businesses are on a stable platform, you expect the smaller businesses to be on a stable platform.
But this is coming late for Cameroon. It's coming in late.
Not quite. The financial statement, yes. The financial statements, yes. The renovations, yes. Or innovations, yes. But there has been financial laws or standards in Cameroon before now.
I want to thank you for honoring our invitation.
You're welcome.
And to you out there, we say thank you for watching. Take another rendezvous same time next week. Goodbye.